This 17 News at Noon podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to 17 News at Noon podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Good afternoon and thanks for joining us for the News at Noon. I'm Alex Fisher. New this afternoon, an arrest was made in connection to a social media threat at a local school. The threat was made against Tevis Junior High School. Police say they arrested a 13-year-old student on Wednesday for threatening students and staff. Investigators say the teen's threat was not credible. This is the second arrest made this week in connection to social media threats. You may remember police arrested a 14-year-old for making threats against students and staff at Thompson Junior High School. Police say other threats made against Edison Middle and Golden Valley High Schools were not credible. We are getting a better picture of what happened in the moments before deputies opened fire, killing a man in southeast Bakersfield early Wednesday morning. Deputies say it started when they spotted a domestic violence suspect in a parked vehicle near Texas and Tyree Tolliver streets. In video, you can see deputies approaching the vehicle. Then the man gets out, appearing to point something at deputies, and that's when they open fire. The man, who has not been identified publicly, died at the scene. This is the 8th deadly officer-involved shooting this year in Kern County. 6 deputies are now on administrative leave pending further investigation. And just a reminder, if you experience domestic violence or know someone who has, there is help available. Call 911 if it's an emergency. You can also call the Alliance Against Family Violence and Sexual Assault at 322-0931 or their crisis line at 327-1091. You can also call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-SAFE. In your 17 Crime Watch, a woman was shot last night during a robbery at an Oildale marijuana shop. According to the sheriff's office, deputies were called to the shop on Grant Drive around 10 o'clock for reports of a shooting. Deputies say 3 men with guns entered the shop and took an unknown amount of marijuana. A woman was shot during the robbery. She is expected to survive. Deputies say another man and woman were also hurt when they were pistol whipped. Kern's deadliest days of the pandemic continue as we learn how many people have lost their lives to COVID-19. And today we learned another 7 people have died from the virus. Our death toll now stands at 1,573. Meantime, hospitals continue to struggle with the high number of patients with more severe symptoms of the virus. 249 people are in the hospital, 75 are in the ICU. And although we still don't know the true impact of this virus yet, better days are ahead as cases continue to decline. 361 more infections were reported today. A month ago, we were averaging nearly 600 daily cases. Pfizer announced it, along with partner BioNTech, have officially submitted a request to the FDA for emergency use authorization of their COVID-19 vaccine in children ages 5 to 11. However, the process will take some time. If approved, it could be November before those vaccines are rolled out. An FDA advisory panel is expected to meet on October 26th to discuss Pfizer's data. The FDA has already approved the use of the Pfizer COVID vaccine for everyone 12 and older.
Clinica Sierra Vista is now offering rapid COVID-19 testing and COVID-19 vaccinations. Call 833-278-4584 to make your appointment. But don't delay. Clinica Sierra Vista, putting patients first.
The pandemic has taken a toll on more than just coronavirus victims. It is also affecting common preventative medical procedures.
I know there's been a lot of talk about just the preventative care, and all those screenings have not been done for breast cancer, colon cancer, any other things that we normally do on an annual basis, even a biannual basis. And it's starting to improve a little bit, but we know that there's people that are still having a difficult time getting appointments with their physicians for those screenings.
Memorial Hospital Chief Nursing Officer Terry Church yesterday offered her experience with delayed procedures due to the pandemic, and she urges anyone who has been skipping out on regular screenings for any health issues to keep pushing for appointments. Top health officials yesterday warned the U.S. could be at risk for a severe flu season this year because flu cases were at an all-time low last year.
CDC's flu experts are concerned that reduced population-level immunity to the seasonal flu could place us at risk for a potentially severe flu season this year. The symptoms of flu can often be similar to those with COVID-19, which can lead to additional needs for flu and COVID testing and isolation for either of the diseases, especially in schools.
CDC Director Dr. Walensky added it is safe and effective to get both vaccines at the same time. Now to Los Angeles, where the City Council yesterday passed what is believed to be the strictest vaccine mandate in the nation. The sweeping measure would require proof of vaccine for anyone and everyone entering a bar, restaurant, nightclub, nail salon, gym, or an event with more than 10,000 people. Retail, grocery stores, and pharmacies are not included in this mandate. Some critics argue that a mandate of this scope would amount to the segregation of those who refuse to be vaccinated. However, others call it unenforceable and worry it could impact small business.
Do you think you'll have to turn customers away?
I hope not, especially during these times, every cent counts. So turning away customers is not something that we're looking forward to.
This new law will be enforced starting November 4th. And all of this comes as a separate vaccine mandate is set to go into effect today in Los Angeles County, requiring the shots or negative tests for guests at theme parks such as Universal Studios and Six Flags. It also includes sports venues like Dodger Stadium. This does not apply to Disneyland or Knott's Berry Farm as they are in neighboring Orange County. The sheriff's office is asking for the public's help finding a woman they say was reported missing 6 months ago. 35-year-old Blanca Sanchez was last seen April 20th. She is described as being 5 feet tall and weighing 170 pounds. If you have any information on where she could be, call KCSO at 861-3110. You can also call Secret Witness at 322-4040. The Bakersfield City Council last night approved the expansion of the Kaiser Permanente Sports Village. The 5-0 vote will allocate almost $4 million in Measure In funding toward the $12.4 million expansion project. This project will add 5 new football fields, seating, a concession building, restrooms, picnic areas, parking lot lighting, and more. The sports complex located north of Taft Highway is the home base for more than 2,000 local athletes. Officials say the expansion is also made possible by a $3 million grant from the National Park Service. Muscle cars and vintage vehicles are set to take over the streets of Bakersfield this week for the 4th annual Cruisin' for Charity event. It is happening later today, also tomorrow, and then on Saturday as well, at multiple locations across town. Money from tickets and donations will go to 6 local charities, including the Mission at Kern County, Wounded Heroes Fund, and more. Well, in sports news, winner takes all, loser leaves town, do or die, everything on the line. Whatever sports cliche you'd like to use, it definitely applied in Los Angeles last night as the Dodgers took on the Cardinals in the dreaded wild card game. It all came down to the moment kids dream about. Bottom of the 9th, 2 outs, runner on base, and then this moment. Chris Taylor, someone who some are calling the Dodgers MVP, crushed a hanging curveball into the left field pavilion, and that's ball game. Walk-off 2-run shot. Dodgers win 3-1. The team will move on to the Division Series playoffs where, for the first time, they will play the San Francisco Giants. So, here is that schedule. Dodgers will be in San Francisco Friday, tomorrow, and Saturday for games 1 and 2. Then game 3 is in Los Angeles on Monday. And if necessary, Game 4 would also be at Dodger Stadium. And then a deciding Game 5 would be back at Oracle Park later next week. The World Series champions last night, not shying away from a challenge.
It's what baseball wants. Giants, Dodgers, one of the great rivalries in sports, and it's happening.
That was the plan. We're going to have to win tonight to get to those guys, and we did what we had to do, and now we're looking forward to this series with those guys.
And I hope Jim Scott is listening right now because he is a huge Giants fan. I'm a huge Dodgers fan. All I have to say to Jim is, we'll see you in San Francisco. With time running out, the Senate appears to be nearing a debt ceiling agreement to pull the nation back from the brink and avoid what many have warned could trigger an economic crisis. NBC's correspondent Garrett Haake has more.
After negotiating late into the night, there is still no deal on the debt limit.
We're making good progress. We're not there yet, but I hope we can come to an agreement tomorrow morning.
Earlier in the day, lawmakers reached a tentative agreement to extend the nation's borrowing limit into December. The move would avert a possible fiscal disaster for now. The potential political punt comes after days of building pressure and dire warnings of the consequences of congressional inaction, lapses in military pay, food stamps and tax credits, and stock markets tumbling.
It's a meteor headed to crash into our economy.
President Biden weighing in on Wednesday, urging Republicans to drop their threats to block a vote to lift the borrowing limit.
My Republican friends need to stop playing Russian roulette with the U.S. economy. If they don't want to do the job, just get out of the way.
Late Wednesday, that's exactly what they did, with Republican leader Mitch McConnell warning Democrats will have to deal with the new December deadline on their own.
They pulled the plug on the plan, Mitch folded, and now we've got time to go ahead and do Build Back Better.
The delay giving Democrats 2 months to focus on the Build Back Better legislation, a $3.5 trillion climate and social safety net bill, still the focus of Democratic infighting. The most conservative Democratic senator today demanding that price tag come down.
My number's been 1.5. I've been very clear, and I don't believe that we should turn our society into an entitlement society.
And its most progressive member firing back.
Senator Manchin really believe that seniors are not entitled to digest their food and that they're not entitled to hear and see properly. Is that really too much to ask in the richest country on earth?
Democrats hoping to pass the massive spending plan by the end of October, with President Biden in need of a boost now. A new poll showing his approval rating dropping to 38%, the lowest level of his presidency yet.
The 17 News at Noon podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.